The next environmental effect I want to talk about is volumetric fog. And that's sort of an irregular fog that you can place in your scene. Before I go to the environment under the rendering menu, I want to add what's called a gizmo to my scene. It's a helper object. Click on Helpers, and then click on Atmospheric Apparatus. You can have a box, a sphere, or a cylinder gizmo. I'm going to place a box gizmo, and I'm going to place it in the left view, just below the table. So what I'll do is create a box, and I want it to be just below the table, like this. And I'm going to change its length so it covers the whole floor, and its width so it covers the whole floor. Now that I have my gizmo in my scene, I'm going to go to the environment, and I'm going to add volume fog. Click OK. This adds the volume fog parameters rollout. There's two ways you can apply a volume fog to a scene. If I pick no gizmo, the fog will be applied to the scene uniformly. However, if I pick a gizmo, and I can do that by picking from the names list, or select by name. I have my box gizmo here. Now the fog will be added to this, or applied to, this box gizmo. So it'll be constrained to that area. So the fog will be below the table. I'm going to change the fog density to about 3.5, maybe 2.5. And I'm going to soften the edge of the gizmo, so as it approaches the edge of the boxes it gets soft. I'm going to add a little bit of turbulence, and I'm going to add a little bit of wind strength and have it come from the back. When I close this, I've applied a volumetric fog to the gizmo below the table. When I render this out in the camera view, we'll see a fog show up below our table. Once this is done rendering, we can remove the gizmo and apply the volumetric fog uniformly throughout the scene. You can use a fog in a scene to change the environment and change the way that your scene looks and feels. Right now, I've got a fog just below the table using the gizmo. So it's going to look like there's a fog flowing along the floor in this room. It'll make the scene look a little bit eerie. And there we have it. We have a fog environmental effect applied to a gizmo object, a box, that's placed below the table, creating a fog that rises up to the bottom of the table. Now I'm going to close this window, and I'm going to go back to my environmental effects under the environment menu item, and I'm going to remove the gizmo for this fog. So I select the atmospheric effect fog. I'm going to remove the gizmo box. Now it will apply the fog to the entire scene. Let's see what that looks like. Go to the render menu, select render, make sure I'm rendering my camera view, and click render. As you can see, now the volumetric fog, since it's not attached to a gizmo, is being applied to the whole scene. So the whole scene is going to be filled with fog. The difference between a basic fog and the volumetric fog, again, is that the volumetric fog is uneven throughout its volume. The regular fog is consistent. It's more of a linear fog. One thing to keep in mind when you add environmental effects to your scene is that adding these effects to your scene is going to slow down the rendering time. So if you want to create a scene with environmental effects, plan to need a little more rendering time.